This is the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. We talk all things health, wealth, and community connection. Let's go. Welcome to this episode of the Ink, Pray, Love podcast. Today I have a very special guest for you. One of my teachers, one of my mentors, someone who did me a solid when I was super handicapped. Like I was incapacitated. Before I got into the wheelchair, I could barely move around, and this special woman helped get me going again. Really, really showed up for me at a very special time. She's an intuition coach. She's a business energetics coach. She's a non-local healer. I don't know how you want to call it that. There's many things that she's going to tell you that I didn't exactly have articulated in the way that all that she is. But she's someone that showed up for me when I couldn't move and reached out to me and said, "You're clearly someone who's here to help, and doing some good in the world. Me helping heal you would be a service." So she started treating me while I was broken and helped me put myself back together and taught me some amazing skills that we'll go over after I finish this long-winded introduction. This is Therese Tierney, my mentor, my coach in intuition and business energetics.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
And
thanks for having me.
Thanks for helping me walk again.
Oh, no problem.
So, to explain what you did for me, just for me, I have to thank you again and again because you reached out to me to heal me when I was helpless, and it meant so much to me to have that. Where I was in a place where it's hard for me to receive that. I mean, I was usually the one that gives and does that, but now I was handicapped. I couldn't get off the toilet by myself. I
remember.
Yeah, you were there from all of it. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get into bed.
Yes.
And so you were there and healing me non-locally with your amazing superpowers and like aligning bones and all this sort of stuff.
Moving sacrums.
Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of sacral stuff. Firstly, who are you and what do you do?
Okay. Well, I'm Therese Tierney, like you said, and I do many things actually. But I suppose I've had many lives in the one life. Like all of us, we've kind of reincarnated a few times in the one life.
Yep.
I know you're the king of reinvention.
Yep.
I teach intuition. I'm an intuition teacher and mentor. I practice business energetics. I teach people how to work with the energetic blueprint of their business, because our businesses are not us, and they have their own energy structure. And when we create intention around that, we can actually work with it on the energetic level. So that's something I'm really passionate about this year.
I loved your retreat. We just finished that.
Yes, that was really
incredible.
Special though. Wow. Some amazing humans.
You nailed that. It's again at a very pivotal point in my life, and
Yes.
it was so amazing, what you did, and all these amazing synchronicities that came after that. But we'll totally get into that because it's a cool story.
Yes.
You were tapping into me from Ireland.
Yes.
And I'm in Bali, and it was like you could see into my body and you could see the energetics of my body, you know, and then also you see the energetics of my businesses.
Yes.
So there's a couple things that she's been helping me with, and intuition training, and intuitive abilities,
Yes.
which was amazing. And, a little backstory, like how did you become a superhuman?
It was really easy. I was born this way. No, I suppose like anyone, it's a journey of trial and error, a journey of not listening to myself. Outsourcing my wisdom all the time. I was always kind of enamored by anyone who seemed like they had some sort of connection to the mystical realms when I was even growing up. But never really saw myself in that. I always outsourced my kind of questions and my knowledge to either tarot readers or intuitives. And even as a young teenager, I used to go to healers with my mom. My mom was a massage therapist. So I suppose she was pretty, a big influence on me being open or shown that at a young age. But again, just never really listening to it myself, studying things in university that I really shouldn't have because I thought I'd get a job. And never working in those roles because I just, after I'd qualified, it was like I felt like I had done something for somebody else and I couldn't face going into that career. So maybe early on I didn't know it at the time that I was following my own path because I was just rebelling against the path that was set out for me, to the disappointment of my father, obviously, and other people. But I kind of started to just follow my gut a little bit more, which led me to Greece, to work there for a couple of summers, just going wild. Then on to India, where I studied yoga and met my guru, which we've chatted about.
The accidental devotee.
The accidental devotee. Although I had been going there again on my own, and we joke about this that there was no cell phones back then, so I was really like,
yeah, you're a female white woman traveling alone in India, no cell phones, nothing. I was like, you're brave. I mean,
well, I had my Lonely Planet guidebook.
that was
literally like gold back then.
I remember those.
But yeah, they're epic. So I looking back now, I can see I was just following my intuition all the time, and had absolute trust that everything was going to work out. Now I probably wouldn't do stuff like that because I know that the world is a bit more of a complicated place. But I suppose it was a reinforcing of listening to myself, going against the curb, going to study yoga when my friends were going to America to go work and party. And I suppose, even though at times it felt like I was, a bit lonely or a bit kind of like there was something, wrong with me, it was my own inner kind of path that I was following. And the more I trusted that, obviously I had times where I still didn't trust it and I got into relationships with people and I was back to the psychics and going, what's going on? But over the years, developing my intuition, developing my ability to feel energy, to sense energy, it became my job, it became my life, it became something I did as a service, and then it became something I taught because it just became such a natural thing for me that I realized, oh, wait a second, maybe I could actually teach people how to do this in some sort of way because, we were talking about on the retreat, gnosis, praxis, and telecus. Like you can learn something, but if you don't practice it and practice it and practice it, you don't become the thing. So I think over 15, 20 years now, I've become the intuition is like really my superpower, I suppose. And now I feel like it's something that I can actually explain to others and
well, you explained it so well because you gave me a structure behind it. That's
yes.
what I loved about it.
Yes.
After we did the healing work and, you're balancing my spleen and pancreas and kidneys and meridian points and Chinese medicine and
Chinese energy medicine, body talk, all the modalities I studied, they all come in and serve a purpose at a different time depending on what, somebody needs.
Once my body was a little less busted up and then I was like, you're mentioning intuition, you're mentioning these things, and I was like, well, how are you, and you were then tapping into things in my life, and you're giving me these little nuggets of hints, and like, maybe you're thinking a bit too much, and it was like right to my core, like things that were like directly.
I remember you saying to me, I just can't fucking lie to you because you just see everything.
You just see everything. And I'm like, oh, she already knows. It's like all
Tony, you might as well come in just telling me the whole truth.
Yeah. So I'm just telling you all the dirty, dark secrets. And
you didn't even need to tell me.
Yeah, she already knew.
There's a list.
She still loves me, and so I'm like, okay, great. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I love all my clients.
Yeah,
deeply.
and so the thing about the clients, but don't give a fuck about them. That was funny. Just like not to have attachment to the outcomes. It's the whole thing that we went through.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, you can't have attachment, otherwise you block the flow.
Exactly. That was a tough one for me to actually integrate because I cared so much about my clients' outcomes, and you were like, you cannot have attachments to their outcomes. You can only show up fully for you, and just like, stop caring. And I was like, what do you mean stop caring about them? I'm like, no, about the outcomes. I'm like,
Well, it's an oxymoron. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like people are like, what do you mean you don't care whether someone gets better or not? And it's like, it's not about not caring. It's about being so neutral that you're actually open to the possibility of something beyond what I could even imagine happening. So I'm creating the space for whatever the potential is in their field to be achieved in that moment. And sometimes I can't see it. I can't see beyond my own limitations. And the last thing I want to do is limit my clients to my small view of the world, because a lot of them grow far beyond and reach far beyond what I will ever do. And that's not my karma. I don't mind. But you can't be, I found that the more attached I would be to whether someone got well or someone did something or whatever, the less I could, clearly pick up, number one, because I'm not neutral. And the less they would actually shift. Because I'm trying to enforce almost energetically something onto them that their body wants to do something completely beyond that.
I totally get that. I think that's something like I'm integrating from you, from teaching me that, was like, sometimes I just have an idea, I'm stuck on it for a client. This is gonna work for you, man. And like kind of push them into it a bit too much.
Give them a few digs.
I could just give an idea, but not like, you should do it, it's awesome. Like I could tell my ego is attached to this outcome, and that's like one thing I'm like,
or
no.
it might have worked for you. But they're a wounded, different human. And their story of where they got to isn't your story. So they need to kind of unravel it from a unique place as well.
That makes so much sense.
So we're all, even I used to treat people like kind of more medical intuition, and you need to have the same back issue, the exact same thing. And how those two people got there was completely different, like from a physical standpoint, but also from a consciousness point of view. Like, we're talking about two different humans, okay? And how our emotions and our all of the things we believe are all stuck in our body. And so you're talking about trying to work with someone, trying to work with two completely unique stories. And I find when you unravel someone's story, they heal much, much, much faster than you just kind of like treating everybody with the same kind of technique.
No, absolutely. It makes so much sense in how we heal. We definitely got to unravel a bit of a story there.
Yes.
When we circled back to, when we started getting into the intuition training. So that's when I was like, I got to learn from you. You treated me free for like a year. I was like, awesome. It's supposed to be 2 sessions or something you were saying. And
then you lost all your money, so I felt sorry for you.
I milked that one.
And I was kind of thinking on some level it's like a karmic thing. I kind of felt like you had a lot more to give in the world. And it was a pleasure, actually. I enjoyed that. Because we charge our fees, so then we can actually, like, I have good money energy, so I charge enough money, so then when it comes to a situation where someone needs something, I can actually do it pro bono, because I've already like in abundance in a way. So I tend to do that a bit. Like, if someone is really in need and I know that it's not like a kind of scarcity thing, I'll do like little sessions here and there.
Sweet.
I don't.
It's good. I get it. I do that with a few clients too. That are just like, I'll hook you up if it's the right case. I think it's sweet to do that. It feels good. But when I wanted to learn off you, the intuitive thing, I always wanted like superpowers. Like, I always remembered, like, especially when I started practicing yoga, I wanted to have these yogic superpowers.
When you want them, they never come.
Yeah. But I felt like I was starting to get them.
Yes.
My intuition felt like it was sharpening massively. Just those little things, like just the super coincidences, or I'd think about someone and then they would message. Like, a lot of that was happening for me. And I'd really be able to predict patterns and people's intentions. Maybe that's just pattern recognition from street smarts, but it was definitely something, drug dealer stuff. But I noticed that was available, but I'm like, maybe, but I'm not like gifted like that. That was something I was like,
Well, that's another story that people say as well, that you have to be gifted to be intuitive.
Yeah.
And it's such a disempowering line of crap, like, because we all have an ability to lower our brain waves and tap into like more subtle information through our subtle senses. And I love kind of demystifying intuition, because it number one helps bring people out of this idea that, oh, I have to be like special or Harry Potter, or, you know, the ego loves being special. Like we fucking love it. Like we're like, nobody can do what I can do. I'm just so unique. I was gifted this from like God or spirit. But really, essentially, it's our nature to be able to use our intuition that way, and to be able to work more subtly with each other, and to structure it in a way that it's not just a gut intuition hit, where you can actually sit there, actively tune into a person, actively find the information that you need for healing or whatever it is, guidance, and that it's just like picking up the phone, you know? It's all just in the field anyway.
There was literally a phone in my intuition temple.
Yeah.
To give you a breakdown,
well, we
guys.
do that, don't we? We do that because we're like, our left brain needs something recognizable to play ball, right? Because the right brain is just like so intuitive, so much information, but we need both sides of the brain like communicating well for the information, the big picture information, but then also the structure of how do I actually receive the exact thing I need to receive from the field. So we need both.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need things you recognize.
It was really cool, like that whole process. I mean, I can kind of explain how it went for me, and you'll probably be able to explain it actually how it is. In the sense that first we started tapping into my yeses and nos. And
Well, first we started tapping into the heart, your heart.
there you go.
I started bringing your head, you know, the head-heart connection. And did you hear that? We were talking about the Heart Math Institute.
Yep, you recommended me to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that study where Bruce Cryer, I'd like to say a friend, but we're not that super close. But we have calls. But he's an amazing guy, and he was like the head of like Heart Math for about 10 years. And Heart Math is the institute that studies the electromagnetic field of the heart and information. And because I was talking to him and I was like, I teach intuition like this, and I go, you know, the heart to me from my yogic studies is the inner guru, and I feel like it's the field that picks up the information first. And we're having this discussion, you know, with all these other people on this quantum call that we gather now and again. And he was saying, oh yeah, I really, like other people were saying how they felt intuition. And some people were saying, oh, I feel it in my body. Some people were feeling it, you know, we were all just discussing. And he said to me, well, from a heart math perspective, from an actual like research perspective, we did this test on an individual, showing them different images, like that were randomly generated on a screen. And we hooked them up with, you know, EEG on the head and the heart and all that, I don't know, you know. And he said, the reason I remember this, we've done so many studies, the reason I remember this is because I was the subject, right? So he was telling me about this study that they did to see where what responds first, the heart or the head. And he said, you know, what was fascinating was that, you know, he was kind of saying to us, oh, well, what do you guys think? You know, was it the head or the heart? Is it the brain? Is it the right brain that is the intuitive, or the heart? And I was kind of saying, well, I'm assuming it's the heart. And he said, yeah, it was the heart. But he said, the funny thing is, the heart was relaying the response before the image was generated.
Whoa, the heart's psychic.
So like a fraction of a second, and they were all very like emotionally like charged photographs. Okay. Like, you know, war, like you know, generate, like one would be a happy image, the next would be a real like, you know, like disturbing image, and the heart was actually
responding,
even responding.
Before that,
preemptively knowing the response.
So your heart can kind of, because that kind of, I guess that's intuition. Like your heart can kind of guess that something's coming.
So this is why I was like, okay, well then
cool.
It's like, you know, this is, I'm going to keep teaching it this way, because to me it always felt like a heart information thing that became, you know, communicated to the brain, and then the left brain starts to sort it out and probably goes through a couple of filters on the way. But you know, for me, that was really like, okay, yeah, we start with the heart. We always start with the heart and come in the, you know, imagination of the heart. And then we get the yeses and the nos. And so, yeah.
That's amazing to see that, because so many times that we've had like a gut feeling or a heart, like an intuition feeling or like a ping. And it's amazing to see that it's connected to the heart. And often if I'm, you know, when we have like extreme emotions, anger, you're not connected to your heart and it blinds your intuition. You're just, you're not thinking straight, you know, and you're thinking the worst. I find often when I'm angry, I'm thinking of the worst case situations, or, you know, it's a very egoic space to live in, you know, and it's just like, wow, I'm not tapping into a higher sense of reasoning, intuitive abilities, anything like that, because I'm just mad.
Yeah, and then, you know, there's ways of just kind of pulling yourself out of the emotional reaction and then just getting neutral again. Yeah. Because, like, life is a bit of an emotional roller coaster. So, like, I encourage people to do an intuitive practice where they're not just kind of winging it through the day, where they sit with intention and go in and do almost like a meditation and ask questions and kind of get some insights.
But this is kind of how you got me into it, right?
Yes.
At the start was, okay, think of something that's a strong yes.
Oh, yes.
Feel how your body responds. Is your energy contractive or expansive?
Yes.
And I'd sit there and I'd just be thinking about things and then just feeling if my energy was a yes or no. Think of things that are clearly a yes or clearly a no. And then just feel how your body reacts. And it's kind of like this subtle energy field. And it was like, are you getting bigger? Are you expanding? Or it's a no, are you contracting? And then feel that and get really good at feeling that subtle part.
Yes.
And I thought that was quite cool, because I'd be driving, or I'd be, you know, just walking down the street and just be like, okay, how do I feel around this? How do I feel around this? How do I feel around this person?
And you can train yourself to do that, because sometimes our intuition is a bit off because we it gets clouded by emotions, like you said, a bit of wishful thinking, you know. Yeah, she's going to call me back, or he's going, I can just feel it. My intuition's telling me this is the one. And it's like really just you wishing that it was the one, but it's not. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that we, you know, misinterpret as intuition. We want them to be the truth, but they're actually not.
Based in an ego.
Yes, they're based in like a kind of, like I said, a bit of wishful thinking situation. So when you can actually re-anchor, like, you know, you can tell your body, you know, and play with it, do a little practice of like, this is a yes, and like purposely kind of expand yourself with something that makes you feel really expansive. And kind of retrain and say, okay, this is intuition. This is what I want you to show me when something is a yes. And then contract yourself, you know, like write in and say, okay, intuition. It's like you might kind of exaggerate, like you're reteaching a child, like this is this, and this is this, because
the
you
stove
want
is hot.
You want to, you want to kind of like give your field of information some parameters to work with it, and then also getting a neutrality.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Something that was completely neutral, and you had to come back to neutral.
Yes, coming back to neutral when you're like with clients, coming back to neutral, you know, so that your intuition can be, you can feel out again, like, is it a yes, is it a no?
Oh, I want us to get in later. I still want to do this thing, but the money stuff was super interesting, and that was the neutral part that reminded me. But back to the intuition temple. So we started doing that practice, and that was quite interesting to do. And I'd be every morning, I'd just sit there and practice the intuition.
Yes, you were a very good student.
I was super interested. It was really awesome information, and to see it working. And like I always thought I had good intuitive abilities, but when you started tapping into me, and I'm like, oh, I can actually really do something here. Like this.
Well, we worked on your subtle senses. We worked on kind of clearing a lot of your, like removing some blocks from your intuition, like the witch wound we all carry. You know.
Tell us about the witch wound.
Well, the witch wound, I call it the witch wound. Probably lots of other people call it the witch wound, but it's like that thing that you don't want to go near, like either we'll say past life or something that happened in your inherited, you know, lineage, or something that can even be things like from school, you know, where you were daydreaming in school and you're punished for not being able to focus, you know, like like not putting, it's like this kind of scar that has removed you from feeling safe to tap into your intuition. And, you know, we've all been burnt at the stake. We've all had those big ones, right? But this can also be a block for most people, to feel safe and trust it, to trust their intuition and to go and trust their intuition over their logic. You know, because your logic is kind of like the proof. The intuition, you can't prove anything that's coming intuitively because it's usually coming in a breadcrumb scenario where you have to just follow the steps. So it's that kind of wound that we carry around, really trusting and really accepting that we are essentially multidimensional intuitive beings, and we can remember how to do those things when we, again, remove the blocks that is inhibiting our kind of sixth sense.
The blockage thing was super important. That came up a lot this week or in the retreat and also before, because if we have blockages, it's stopping us to receive so much. Like it's like literally we got blinders on and we're not seeing so much information in the field that's coming towards us. We're not able to be creative or see possibilities. And those blockages, it's like so much of growing anything is letting go of so much that we're holding on to.
Well, that's the thing.
Right?
What was that? We were talking about that quote, that Buddha quote of, it's not about, I'm going to fuck it up. It's something about like, it's not about, kind of going after love. It's about removing
the blockages within.
That was
within. A good one.
That is stopping it from flowing to you.
Is that how it went?
I don't know, something. I don't think he cursed, but something around that.
Okay. Say it again while I don't fuck it up again. What was it?
I don't have these quotes perfect, but it's like, it's not about chasing, we'll say love. I think that was the example.
It was about love, yeah.
It's about removing the blockages within yourself. That's stopping the obstruction.
Yeah, stopping the love from
flowing.
That's right. Yeah, and that's so important because so much of that is about letting go. And that was a big part of this journey for me. Trauma and guilt and shame and just so much that was just like, still is, of course, in some way or another, but weighing me down. And when we cleared it out, so many opportunities were coming through. Like it was wild. It was like opportunities were waiting at the door, and they're just like, "Hey, like, let us in." But I got a bookshelf in front of it, and the bookshelf is like different volumes of encyclopedias of trauma and bullshit. It's just like, bro, get the book, move the bookshelf, and all the other things out of the way, right? So it was crazy how quickly it works, because then the universe right away would communicate with me, like, okay, you got rid of this. Here's this. This was just waiting. There's so much of our success is waiting for us if we can just get unstuck, get these things that are just weighing us down, that are blocking it, get them out of the way.
And sometimes the stuckness has nothing to do with your strategy or your mindset.
Exactly.
Like you're giving it socks, like you're going for it.
Yeah.
But there's just other stuff.
Yeah.
That's just like Mike called the invisible stuff.
Yeah.
That I think, once you start honoring a little bit of that and recognizing that that's also there, then you bring more, you can actually work with it.
What did you say in the retreat? I wrote that down right away. It's 80% inner work and 20%
action,
aligned action. Yeah, I love that one. And I was like, oh wow, okay. You got to double down on that inner work and not stop.
Yes.
So inner work.
You do a lot of action. You are a man of action, a force of nature. That's what I call you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you can bring the same amount of action that you take into the intention before, it's way more powerful and way more aligned. Like
that's a game changer for me, because I'm the shoot first, aim later kind of guy,
Well, the intention for that retreat was to kind of move out of hustle and into more alignment. And we're all like, oh, I'm just aligning, but you have to do both. We can't just, we have to see what we can do, see what the universe can do. They were the kind of the lists that we wrote down. It's like the actions I can take, and then if I actually trusted, how could things work out for me? Like the universe is conspiring for me, and it's about combining those two.
Yeah, the pronoia. I love that word. I love that word. Pronoia. The universe is conspiring for you.
Oh, yeah. Is that what they say? Yeah.
Paranoia is everything's out to get you.
Yes.
Be pronoid. I'm like, that's a cool word.
Yes.
Intuition Temple, circling back to that.
Oh, Jesus,
we
sorry.
Built,
We're rambling.
But it's all just...
I'm Irish.
I love it. We created a temple in my mind. I would walk up a flight of stairs that would symbolically get me to the top. There was like a door, and I would imagine the door I wanted.
Let's not give everything away.
You can't come into my temple.
Well, it's about creating a sacred space. When your brain waves are at a place of almost coming into like a yoga nidra state. Because when you try to create from a kind of beta, like active, you're not intuiting information. You're kind of projecting onto something. Whereas when you actually relax and you take the body into like a kind of nidra, yoga nidra, which is like a kind of lower frequency, alpha, theta state, you are able to receive more information because you're able to kind of come into the senses a bit more. Things are a bit more dreamy. So you're kind of coming into like an active dream state. Where you're able to create and wait and watch things emerge from the field instead of projecting something in there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time when we're setting goals and things like that, we want to go in and we want to project and we want to project. But actually a lot of those goals end up being things that are not actually aligned with your highest self at all. They end up creating just more disillusion. So I think when you come into that temple that you create, and you're fully kind of feeling like you're at home in your own space, and you're very allowing of information, because intuition comes, we don't kind of struggle to receive it. We just relax and are open, and the 5 subtle senses are a bit more tuned in, like the dream senses. So you're picking up information.
Dream senses.
So the senses that when you're dreaming, you're still like seeing, and but your eyes are closed, and you're not hearing anything.
Sure.
So I call it like, maybe not everybody calls it that, but, for me, when working with people to develop their intuition a bit more sharply, we work on these subtle senses, doing visualization practices, doing yoga nidra practices. Tesla used to do a lot of visualization practices, and he had his own like workshop, he called, in his head, that he used to build prototypes, and his staff would build the machine, and he used to run tests on the prototype. And, he famously never built a prototype. He always ever built a working machine because he was able to visualize so clearly everything and see everything going.
Yeah.
So it's kind of coming from that space of like, if we actually really honor our imagination and honor our inner senses and play with them and work with them, you can create with them. You can receive information which is on a more subtle level. That isn't the information we hear in the gross, senses, like our, reality senses, hearing, seeing. We have access to more.
Yeah.
So
that was super interesting for me, that it was, the gross and then the subtle sensations, where it was like, what did you call it? Because it was like clairvoyance, the different types of intuitive abilities through the senses. Yeah,
so there's clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience.
No, but which one does each one mean?
You're putting me on the spot here. Okay, so clairvoyance is being able to see.
Yeah, see with your intuition.
So, well, these are considered, superpowers to some people. Yeah. She's a clairvoyant. But really, we can all work with our subtle senses. Your subtle sense of hearing, okay, subtle sense of sight, subtle sense of smell, subtle sense of taste, subtle sense of touch. That's a big one. A lot of people are very good with their subtle sense of touch, but they don't actually acknowledge that they have a really good subtle sense of touch.
To explain the subtle sense of touch, because clairvoyance is you're able to
sight,
see. You're able to see, like
clairsentience. It's like you walk into a room and you're like, whoa, this feels weird.
Yeah. The feeling. So
you walk into,
like,
you walk up to someone and you feel there's something wrong. Yeah. Nobody has said to you, I feel this. Yeah. You're coming up and you're like, ooh, what's the vibe? That's your subtle sense of touch.
Yeah.
Okay. Your subtle sense of hearing is how you're listening to yourself, or you're able to listen to other people on a subtle level.
Maybe hear things that aren't exactly said out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clairaudience.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Clairaudience. Yeah.
And then the smell one, I was like, what was that? I don't remember the Clara smell or whatever. But what was you're able
like
to
when your subtle sense of smell. It's funny actually. There's
something smells funny here.
Well, I always intuitively when I'm working with someone's subtle sense of smell, I'm working with their gullibleness. Because if you are street smart, you can smell a rat, right? But you're not actually smelling a rat.
Yeah.
It's a way that we we use it as a kind of a
Pick up on
code.
something.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like wolves smell,
yeah.
dog smell.
Well, it's like that, It's like our subtle senses are giving us information all the time. And when you're starting to work with your intuition, it's just bringing more awareness. Like you're just going, hey, guess what? There's these subtle senses. Guess what? You can actually work with them to make them a bit more fine-tuned, because if you practice anything, it becomes stronger. And yeah, that will then inform you on a subtle level, to be able to be more intuitive. So it's kind of demystifying, if we take it back, for me, it was like, okay, intuition, what is it? It's the 5 subtle senses. This is just my experience. Okay. The information comes through the heart, and our 5 subtle senses kind of like decipher the code, right? And it's not linear. It's not like someone's talking to you. It's kind of like a feeling, or you hear a song, or you get a sense, or you see their organ, or you see, it's like a code, but you understand it, right? So I'm kind of like, right, okay, well, for their subtle senses to be more heightened, how do we do that? Okay, how do we get, them more relaxed so they can tap into their subtle senses? So that's kind of, it was like reverse engineering for me.
Yeah.
It was like, how do we take this intuitive information? How is it actually gathered by the person, from a kind of more of a scientific, point of view?
Sure.
And then, okay, how do we reverse engineer so I could teach that back to someone and see how their intuition like develops from that? And then also, like you said, working with the witch wound and the blocks and trying to allow people to clear their blocks to receiving the intuitive information.
What was the taste one? I think this part's just really interesting because people can kind of see that there's like it's not exactly what they think. Like it's an interesting point. I found it super interesting.
Well, I'm sure if you put it out there, you'd hear people saying that they taste tastes that aren't there, or if you have a medium,
there's a funny taste in my mouth.
Yeah, like mediums, they will walk into a room and they'll be like, they'll be talking about their senses. They'll be smelling smoke, or they'll be,
Yeah, I've heard that
So,
before.
it all depends on what your natural superpower is. I always say when I'm teaching people, especially in the group program, everyone kind of has, one that's stronger than the other.
Yeah.
Like someone's good at like seeing, someone's good at feeling, someone's good at hearing, someone's good, and it's usually those 3. They're the most common.
Yeah.
But there are other ways of receiving intuitive information.
Yeah.
And just because I'm not someone that walks into a room and tastes things, it doesn't mean that someone else isn't, one of my students isn't. So I just kind of open it up and we say, everyone probably listening to this has got like something.
Yeah, for sure.
That they're like, that's how my intuition speaks to
like
me.
they have visions, or mine's feeling. I can as soon as I'm with someone, I can feel very, very quickly whether I trust them or not.
Yes. Well, that's your subtle sense of smell as well.
Really?
Yeah, because
that's a feeling thing.
Yeah, that's a kind of sense of smelling out the rotten apple.
Yeah.
It's all like kind of, but the intuition is, it's kind of like poetry. It's like, I can smell a rat, like we said. I can sniff out something that's wrong. That's your subtle sense of smell,
That was super interesting. It was cool playing with that intuition temple. It was cool like having a place to go to in my mind to go and find answers with myself and commune with myself, and then bring up different things I need to go through, sit with myself and just like actually go into it. And then you have me doing
structure.
The structure is what was awesome.
Because so many people are like, oh, I get my intuitive hit, and I'm like, that's unbelievable. Imagine if you could put a bit of structure around that and actually go in and call it at will.
Yeah.
And that's when people's like confidence just explodes, because it's like, oh, wait a second, this was just there the whole time. I just didn't know that there was a way of accessing it and structuring it. Yeah. And now I do. And, they're, whatever. I always say the intuition is like, makes you the master of your craft. So no matter what you're doing, if you can actually bring intuition into it, you just become like much more on fire with everything.
It helped me directly with my coaching practice.
Yes.
So that was something I was telling you before this. Like that's what I was doing after you taught me these things, and I felt like my intuition was sharpening. I would tap into my clients before a session and be like, what do they need right now? Like what are they going through? I'd think about them. I would think about what practice or teaching point I'd like to bring into it, and then I'd listen to them, see what they're going through, and it was so often that what I wanted to bring to the table was perfect for what they were going through, because I would think about them, and then I would just like, I get this for them, I think this is it today. And And then it would just land, and I loved seeing that happen. So having a sharper intuition, and when you're in a place of service, you can serve deeper because you're intuiting more what they need. And I was really enjoying that. So that's helped my practice out massively.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, I've worked with so many people, like hundreds and hundreds of people over the years. People don't know what's wrong with them. I know that sounds terrible, but we're so in our heads a lot of the time.
For sure.
That we're talking about the kind of mental thing that the issue is, but actually that's not the problem at all. The problem is something deeper. Yeah. And when you're able to access your intuition, you're able to go, okay, yes, this is the outward projection of the problem, but the inner thing is actually this.
Yeah.
So it really helps, and it helps astrologers, and it helps because things just start to kind of click in when you open up that part of your work. It's just, it's really good.
Astrologers, Louis.
Shout out to the Looster.
Shout out to Louis. One of the guys on the retreat, hilarious. Such a funny, animated, lovely gay dude that's a astrologer. And right away when he opened his mouth, and he's like, he's quite the personality. I was like, he's going to be my favorite person on this retreat.
Yes,
because
he's managed to get on the podcast. Us talking about it.
There you go. He's prevalent. He's prevalent. He's kicking my ass in chess. God bless Louis. He was so funny, and he was getting these hits to help with his astrology, and it was helping him in his business. It was super cool to see that. And so I got to get a reading from him.
You do.
That retreat was amazing for me because there was so many things that came up. And that was the first time I met you in person.
I know.
So when we met,
we met in Changi.
Well, yeah, but after 2 years,
I know.
And I felt like obviously we know each other so well from those, and you know me more than I know you. Apparently, you tap into me. It was so.
But again, I always forget everything.
Great.
Yes.
Perfect. And there's definitely confidentiality agreement.
Well, for the right price, my information can be bought.
Oh no! And so it was amazing to see in person. And when I first saw you, I was like, "Wow, I'm way bigger than you." Like I just thought.
I told you I was small.
Yeah, I didn't. On Zoom, you don't really you don't get it. It's just like
it's my superpower stature.
I'm like,
my superhero
oh wow,
energy. Yeah, no, I'm actually
I was like,
small.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you give really good hugs. And then when we get there, it was the first time you had your hands on me, and you do quite this body work that's incredible, and just tapping on me and tuning into me, and then these things are coming up. And you're just like so much around, just like, oh, you need to accept your parents for who they are and forgive them, and accept them.
Well, just tell everyone.
Yeah. I was happy to, right?
Let's get right out there.
Happy to. I'm an open book about them. God bless my parents. I messaged them I sent them a voice note right after that, and I'm like, I just want to say, I accept you guys for everything and who you are, and I love you, and I appreciate. I wouldn't be me without you, and thank you for everything you did. I wanted them to be. Maybe a bit of different. I wanted to be best friends with my dad, or I wanted just this different relationship from them. And I sent it in the group chat that I have just with my two parents, and they didn't respond. And then I messaged her mom, "Did you get the message?" She's like, "Oh yeah." And she did 3 heart emojis. And I'm like, my dad didn't even
accepting again at another level.
It was exactly like accept that too.
Yes,
I wanted something more. I wanted
I accept you if you change right now and be what I want you to be.
Yeah. Exactly, right. That was exactly. I was like, it had to be like that. Like, it had to be that response. This underwhelming response.
To see had you really accepted.
Yeah. That was funny. I was like, okay, test.
Fail. Fail the test.
Yeah, it was funny, and so there was so much that came through out of that, and so many things, going through this big transition time in my life where I'm like, I want to pivot industries, I want to go more into retreats, I want to host retreats. I saw the visions of this. I want to be, bringing people together and leading them through practices, and just what I love to do is bring people together. And it's like, oh, that's got to be what I do. The intuition was like pinging on that, and then we cleared so much out in the retreat, and it was so much forgiveness. I had that tarot card keep coming up for me. Remember how many times that forgiveness card kept coming up? And you brought it up. You're like, you just need to let go of so much, right? There's all this anger, there's all this shame, blah, blah, blah. Just let go. And I started really doing that in those practices, and the balances you're doing for the group. So then you would be balancing the whole group and working on us as a group, and then working on us in one-on-one. And so there's all these like deep things. Every time you'd work on me one-on-one, there was some profound thing that you would tell me.
I'm pretty amazing.
You're pretty fucking good. You got it. You're pretty fucking good. I couldn't not sing your praises enough. And when I did that, and we did a couple big forgiveness clearings, and we had that fire ceremony, and
that was powerful.
That was super powerful.
Was just,
writing.
Man.
Oh, the monk with the start was amazing. That's super flame. So we did the opening ceremony, and they made this like fire ceremony with the and it was the hottest fire ceremony I've ever been to. Like literally, that fire was huge.
Well, that's because I was there as well.
Yeah, sure.
still got it.
It was crazy,
Yeah.
and it was a funny thing because I kind of went through something like right before the fire ceremony, and I had something come up personally that would someone I love dearly was in a bit of a situation being kind of what do you call it? Kind of not assaulted, but guy kind of leering her.
Yeah, you had a lot on your mind.
I was in a
like
rage
that.
mode because I went into protector mode. I wanted this person to be okay, and she wasn't, but she was. But I was enraged, and I'm in this fire ceremony, and I'm trying to keep my composure. It's opening ceremony. I don't know anybody else. A bunch of new people. I'm just sitting there. I'm just like fuming, and I was like, okay. You can't be Mr. Protector right now. Like you can't be, you're not there.
But you dropped in.
I did.
I saw you.
That was the crazy practice was then we were all there and I kept looking over at you and you're just giving me this like loving smile, and I'm in rage mode and you're just like kind of like I'm just happy you're here kind of smile. And I was like, okay, fuck, be here, be here. And we did this fire ceremony and it was so hot. The fire was massive. And then the monk was pouring the water all over us, and that cleared. Like I really felt the elements and the ritual and the ceremony of that, like it was clearing, and I was like, this is working. I feel better. And then what you mentioned a bunch of times in the retreat was your subconscious mind loves ritual. And I was like, oh shit. And that dropped in for me. Like that was like, I get it now. Like I thought all these things of like writing it down on paper and burning it. I'm like, fucking why? Like it, I couldn't intellectualize it. So it didn't but it's not an intellectual thing. And the subconscious mind loves the fact that you're making an offering, just like Bali, the land of offerings, you're making an offering and your intention's going into it and you do the thing.
Yes.
I never got that before in my life. I'd always be like, yeah.
And you've been to so many fires.
I've been to so many ceremonies.
Oh my
it's
God,
crazy.
imagine.
So many when like calling in the directions. I'm like,
The thing is, it's like, this is what we were talking about as well, a little bit about universal law. Like everything has a frequency, everything has a vibration, whether it's even a thought or, the law of vibration. Every belief system, everything that we do, has a vibration. And when you actually, with intention, kind of purge the memory and write it down and bring it into the fire ceremony. And, like I did at the very end when we were doing the water ceremony as well, it's like gather all the stuff you purged, like all the sad stories you wrote about your life. And like, can we, are we ready to like reclaim all the energy that's actually stuck in these stories? Because that's what we do, like holding on vibrationally, like things just fuck us up, like big time. So, and it's hard because I've had experiences myself where I've really wanted to be right about the thing. I've written it down. There's a part of me that's like really wants to let it go because it's causing a lot of problems in my relationship or something. But there's this other part of me that's like, no, but you're justified to feel that way. No, they did you wrong, And when I see that coming up in me, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good one. Because actually I want it to be different, but I don't want to let go. I don't want to actually clear this energy. I want to keep this energy stuck where I was traumatized, and then I'm giving myself permission to be angry at that person or resentful or transactional or keeping score. And when you actually sit down and you're like, am I ready to let this go? Like, can I actually let the energy behind the story, not even the story, can I free myself up from holding that as a block in my body? And this is things that you can do without me putting my hands on you. And that's why I wanted to show you can actually work with your own energy and your own bullshit by doing a little bit of ritual around it, but also putting the intention into the piece of paper that I am actually prepared to let this go. Because anything we do, it doesn't matter what we do. If the intention behind it is off, it's just a gesture. It doesn't mean anything. You don't feel it.
Totally.
But if there's intention behind anything, you're putting that energy behind it, it becomes a parcel of healing. It becomes an actual opportunity to clear and resolve something. And at the end of the day, it's only your own, you're only blocking yourself, So with the writing down and the intentionally letting go, the word for a lot of people on the retreat was space. Like I just feel more space around me in my head. I can open up now to allow newer information, new ideas to come through, because it's the letting go and the ritual of letting go what no longer serves you and is not even not serving you. It's fucking you up. Like it's really not doing anything good for you. It could be doing destructive things in your life.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, that's the kind of
that's what I loved
that was
about
kind
it.
of fun.
Because I never really like I said, it was like, yeah, you know, but when I actually put the intention into it, and of course I trust you, so I was like, yeah, okay, she says it's a thing, I'm gonna do the thing. But I guess maybe in other places people are telling me to do the thing, I'm like, but like, okay, I'm gonna really go for it. I really put my heart into that, and I really wanted to let go of those things, and I really didn't want to have this resentment, I didn't want to have all this ickiness that I knew I was carrying, I knew this was just blocking creativity, and I'm going through a big transition in my life. I want to be leveling up. I want to be switching modes and get to the next level and serve deeper. And so I really did the fire ceremony. I really wrote all this stuff down. I really let it go. And my VA had a post that was scheduled, and it was about my Australia trip, this detour I had in Australia before I was coming to Bali, and the whole passport situation and unexpected detour, and I had this amazing time with my friends. I knew why I was supposed to go there. I was supposed to tap into some beautiful plant medicine ceremony and a beautiful intuitive psychic reading with my friend Tilly and my buddy Ben leading me through a breath work, and it just cleared. And that was like a precursor for us, because I was already kind of open and cleared some stuff up. So it was in a receptive state before I was going to learn with you. So it was perfect timing, because I came to, when I was coming from Vancouver, I was a ball of anger. It was just like exiting some businesses that I shouldn't have been business partners with these people. What was I doing? It was working with people that weren't aligned to me. And I was angry with how it ended and how it went, right? We just on our different journeys. And so I was coming to Bali angry, and I was coming with this, and I still have a lot to let go of, but I felt taken advantage of. I felt I fucked up a lot of stuff. Like I felt just this around it. And when I was able to clear a bit and see it from a different perspective before I came, I was like, okay, there's work to do, and I'm ready to work. And because before, when I was coming to the retreat, I was like, yeah, I'll think about it when I get there. But when I was already intentionally like, this is the timing for this. You're gonna go through this to get through this. Like you're gonna level up here. So be open and receptive. And so when I met you, instantly it started shifting. I could feel it right away. And then when we did the ceremony, and I let that stuff go, and I named what I was letting go, and I was clearing that out. I had this post out that my assistant posted. It was scheduled, and the next morning, and it was talking about my pivot in directions, and that I want to build a retreat center in BC. I want to build a retreat center for people to come, near my home base in Vancouver, and I want to host retreats. And you know what? I'm going to host a first retreat, sometime, let's go for like March or something. Like, who would be interested? And I had 20 DMs about it right away, like retreat. I was like, holy shit. Like, I think my account's, shadow banned. I wasn't getting much traction. And this.
Well, the right things you will get traction for.
Exactly. And it was like instantly, it was like proof in the pudding. It's like I cleared stuff out, and then it was results. And I was like, whoa. It's very clear when you shift something and you do it intentionally, you put your heart into it, and it's there also to serve others. That it's not just about my own selfish bullshit. It's like, no, I want to do this thing because I'm going to be able to help people level up. I'm going to be able to serve people. So my intention is to switch and do something bigger than me. Yeah. It was wild how the universe communicated so quickly.
Again, intention.
Yeah.
It's your intention to chase the almighty dollar, which we, of course, there's no shame in like wanting abundance, because we need that to live. But when you actually step into a place of creating success, and then money flows, it's just it's a different intention. It's a different dynamic behind. You're still creating a project that you want to earn money from and support your family from, but actually you're like, it's kind of coming from a place of like creativity. Yeah. It's like it has an energy of its own, and then we talk about energy matrices in your business.
Yeah, well, that's exactly, it was a perfect segue, because we're talking about the money thing and, doing something not just for the almighty dollar, but of course, if we're not aligned energetically, the money's not going to be coming in, or if there's blockages, it'll trickle in. And there was so much gold in that for me about what is a business energetics. What is that? And then let's talk about the money matrix. But maybe you can drop in a little bit about business energetics.
Well, business energetics is a funny one, because it kind of came like the kind of, we'll say the structure of it kind of was birthed out of me working a lot with entrepreneurs and understanding, you know, like maybe the laws of, you know, gender, the laws of polarity. We're talking about masculine and feminine energy. I'm not talking about, you know, the identification of not masculine and feminine. I'm talking about the innate kind of, for anything to exist in the physical and non-physical like world or domain or reality, there has to be a combination of a yin and yang of, like, you know, masculine and feminine energy. And when working with our businesses, it's the same. Like our businesses, especially with entrepreneurs, I work with a lot of them, there can be an over-identification with the business, like I'm the business. When actually your business isn't you, your business is an energetic structure that exists separate from you, especially if it's a business of a bricks and mortar business, you know, it's not you. Or if it's a concept, or if it's a website or something, because if you sell it, it's no longer, it's gone to somebody else, right? It's an actual energetic structure that exists. But we don't think about it like that. But I think about it like that because this is the weird stuff I think about in the shower sometimes. I remember the first time I started like thinking about it and like, oh yeah. And I was talking to an entrepreneur friend of mine and he was like, it's pretty out there, but let's do it. You know?
Yeah.
But it's just this idea of working with intention around the energy matrix of businesses and how there's like these key areas that come up for every entrepreneur, like identity, masculine and feminine energy. I know that's totally over blah de blah, you know, people. But again, I don't think that most people understand energy when they're talking about masculine and feminine. They're talking about, oh, your strategy and your mindset. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's another level altogether. It's about healing the wounds in the masculine and feminine energy. So we're better vessels to hold that energy in our lives, in our businesses. And then things like money, of course. We don't run a business, you know, most businesses are there to create an income. And yeah, like, you know, a little bit of witch wound stuff comes up around the businesses and the business matrix itself. So there's a couple of levels that I was always working with again and again and again with people one-to-one. Like restructuring the energy of their businesses so that it could call in energetically, become a magnet for the people, the clients and the staff and that kind of thing. So like, yeah, that's kind of where the business energetics retreat came from. I was like, well, could I do this with a bunch of people instead of just one-to-one?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it kind of worked.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I had a great time, but it was also super informative to see. Like my biggest takeaways were definitely 80% inner work, 20% outer work to get yourself to where you want to go.
Yeah.
That was an amazing one for me. The money leaks was a big one. I'm like, I still spend like a drug dealer. Like I need to heal that, where it was just like, I making money is no problem for me, but the leaky energy has been something that I've been working on since I started practicing yoga. You're leaking in a lot of ways, buddy, and you gotta tighten those leaks, you know, in many ways, you know, so many. And so that was something to really get a handle on. So I went in and looked at all these subscriptions that were on my phone that I was like, why the fuck am I paying for this still? I don't even use this thing. And I had to like many of them. And there was a couple other ones, these online apps, and I was getting charged like hundreds of dollars a month, not just like an extra 60, 70, it was hundreds of dollars. I was like, yo, it was something like $500 or $600 a month extra that I shouldn't have been paying, like web domains, like things like that I didn't have this site or this, just stuff like, and I didn't look at my credit card statements like enough.
That's because we're afraid of looking sometimes. When money becomes like a kind of interesting relationship, sometimes we're a bit terrified of it.
Yeah,
sure.
You know,
we don't actually like actively, like we said, like welcome it in like a friend. How you doing? Check your bank account, like make sure everything is going. Yeah. You're like, oh, I don't want to talk to you in case you know, like we have this weird energetic relationship.
If money was a person that walked into the room, how would it treat you? How would you feel about it? And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, that's good. Like, I like that one. And a lot of people were like, oh, it'd be a guy, it'd be a girl. They wouldn't talk to me. They'd be scary. They'd be this. And I'm like, it'd be like that hot chick. and I'd be like, I want that hot chick to like me. You know, I'd be like trying to impress the hot chick, but I'm like, oh, I'm insecure. Like it'd be all this like funny shit.
We're just weirdos.
Yeah.
Our relationship to things that should be neutral, we completely complicate.
Yeah,
and just,
totally.
Create all these blocks.
I hope it likes me, you know. And you're like, be neutral. You have to be neutral around your money, but also you have to treat it with respect. And that reminded me of back in the drug dealer days. I would handle my money very neatly, like very tight, very compact, counted properly, meticulously. I'd hand it over, rubber banded, looking like a clean brick of money. It wouldn't be like this garbled mess, right? And I'd give it to somebody, and they'd be like, oh damn, like you come correct, you know. And I was like, yeah. Like you got to treat your money respectfully. It's important. And then when I get guys who were like working for me or something, and they'd pay me in this like garbled mess of bills, I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know, like, dude, treat your money with respect.
Money likes to be, you know.
Yeah, well, I like how you said
shown a good
that.
time as
That's
well.
That's it.
There's a lot. We can't get into the whole energetics of
Sure.
money on this, but like the one thing that, you know, is the most important is, like you said, that 80-20 situation, and that you're always the energetic match for what's going on in your life. So you're basically, if you change your energy and you shift from the inside, your external changes. It's not really the other way around.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we manifest and we kind of communicate with life with our emotional body, with our you know, like our subtle senses, our subconscious, and not really with our conscious. So it responds to who we are, not what we think. So if you want to kind of create a different like flow and alignment, you have to actually change yourself, you know. That
was massive for me.
On a subtle level.
I had to really look at things a lot differently after that. I had amazing notes, you know, around the primary masculine, the primary feminine, the idea that I had of money. Right away, I went fixing leaks. Right away, I went into like that morning. I was getting up at 5 every morning before the retreat to get a bit of work done before we started, and that was the thing I did on the day after that seminar. Was like, okay, and I just went in and I was like, pay all the bills. So like, ding, 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 clear all the credit cards. Okay, ding, like unsubscribe on all these subscriptions. Okay, great. Transfer money into my tax savings account. Like, make sure I'm doing the thing. You know, I just like boom, 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 and I was like, I felt so good after I did it.
Yes.
And then after I did that, I started receiving payments. I had more money on my account than I expected. I was like, awesome.
This is the thing. This is what we don't get, you know. It's like as soon as you start clearing the blocks and opening the flow for anything, you know, it starts to come. Yeah.
I think that's actually a good one to like remember if you're listening. Like, if money walked into the room right now and it was a person, how would you feel? You know, what would you say to it? How would you respond?
How would it be with you? That's the question. Does it come straight over to you and like hang out with you and follow you around the room? Or does it ignore you?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then you see, like, this is, because everything is a relationship. Everything exists in this reality as a relationship to something else. So we forget that we have relationships with our energy, we have relationships with our money, we have a relationship with our masculine energy and a relationship with our feminine energy. And it's like we have to improve the relationships that we have with that. So, you know, because it's there, it's always there in abundance. It's like what's the relationship with how much I allow in and how much I block and that kind of thing. And again, it's just awarenesses. It's like bringing attention to something that you didn't know was a thing before. And then when you become aware that it's something you can work with, you work with it and it changes, you know? So. Yeah,
I felt that already. Like, okay, that's changing. And like with the sale of one of my businesses here, to pivot and all that, and like finding the right buyer, I really wanted to go to someone who's going to take care of it and continue my life out here, like continue pushing it forward. And I was just like, the energetics around that and what the energy I was bringing into that, and like how was I responding to the situation, made me feel just better about all these decisions. So it was really interesting how that worked and how to treat, you know, situations and people in my life, and just the structures behind it is what I really appreciate, because it kind of like martial arts. And it's like, cool, throw a left hook, and you're like, yeah, okay, I see how they do it, but they're like, okay, wait, turn your hip and foot, pop your elbow up, turn your fist this way, make sure you drive the energy from your legs up, turn your hips over as you throw it. You're like, oh, structure. Yeah. Now I can pop that out without even thinking about it. Yeah. And it was just like that with the different intuitive abilities, as well as now every business I move forward, like the retreat center, I'm like definitely gonna be calling you up and it'd be like, yeah, help me build this ground up.
Yeah, but you'll be able to do a lot of it yourself as well. You won't have to outsource.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing about developing your intuition, is that you no longer, of course, there's always times where you will outsource, something that you want maybe a second opinion on, but you stop outsourcing like the small questions. You stop giving away your power. You actually are able to feel into situations and visualize them and, almost project yourself into them before they happen, to feel like, are they right for me? Your intuition can be really helpful in playing lots of games with the field.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it's your journey, so you should be listening to yourself first more than anybody else, because other people can only intuit what they think is right for you. You have to feel it in your body that it's a yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's always those times where you go with it when everybody else is saying, no, you're crazy, and then it ends up being the cherry on, you end up getting the rewards when you follow your own experience.
Yeah.
So,
what are your clients like? Besides me being your favorite one, what is everybody else like?
you're my favorite. I have all sorts of clients. Lots of different people. I have people who are employed. I have people who run their own businesses, who have multiple businesses. I have people who have no jobs. They're not working maybe, at the moment. There's loads and loads of different people I work with. They're usually in different groups. But mostly my one-to-ones tend to be people in conscious kind of business owners, I suppose, that understand that the energetics is really the key to what they're doing, that they've kind of gotten past a certain level of understanding. There's this mindset and strategy and what actions I can do, but really they get it. They get that the energy is really the underlying force that's driving them forward. And also I get people like you who just want to learn how to be more intuitive in their work, more intuitive with their life, be able to create more intention and impact by using their intuition. And yeah, lots of different people.
I really appreciate that, and just all you've done for me. Is there anything else that you wanted to add, or you feel like, because I know you're like, don't give it all away, because we want to.
Anything else I want to add about
intuition or business energetics, or just a lasting piece that you'd like to leave people with that they could kind of savor as a nugget for them? Not to put you on the spot.
Maybe the idea that when you're creating anything or visioning something, that tune into who you need to become energetically for that to be a match for you, because every obstacle that comes up in our lives or in our businesses even is a vehicle for transformation. It's a vehicle to become more awakened, because it's asking for a part of us to die, a part of an attachment we have to something. So if you're creating something, or you come up against a challenge, don't see it as, this thing that has to be attacked. See it as what part of me needs to actually dissolve so I can move past this, and who do I need to become to become a better energetic match for the things I want. And then write down some qualities of that person, and then become the qualities of that person today. Because when you shift your energy every day, you end up kind of energetically connecting with different people, different situations. So it's an energy game. Another thing that we did is we wrote down the opposite of the qualities that you want to become. So you're very mindful. This is the qualities of the human that I am when I have achieved this goal or this purpose or whatever. And they're usually, peace or gratitude or confidence. And you become those today. You just start practicing peace. You start finding gratitude. You start doing the things already. But you also are mindful of the opposite of those practices. So ungrateful, restless, and you watch yourself. Just monitoring your own energy, monitoring your own identity is something that anyone can do. And then you can shift it quicker, because the minute you go into ungratefulness or, not in your peace, you can go, oh, wait a second, this is why I'm, this is the energetic match for this bad situation. Let me shift my energy, my intention to be more mindful and intentional about what I'm creating, you know? Because we're all creating every moment. We might as well put a bit of intention into it and actually have some direction and create and make what you're supposed to hear, what you're here to do,
I love it.
Yeah, is that?
I was like, well,
is that enough?
I was like, oh, we were supposed to, I wanted to go into that one. I forgot about that one. Becoming the energetic match for the future you want, it's such an important, beautiful topic and I remember.
But these are just things that people can do without having to, call someone, hire someone. They can start being a bit more intentional,
Well, I really love that. That was, okay, say if I want to build what I want to build in my life, who do I have to be? What does an energetic match to that look like? And it's like, cool, focused, disciplined, in integrity, just in my practice and connecting like I do. Be a connector. Okay, cool. And then it was the opposite of that. It was like, okay, don't be scattered. Don't go after every little new shiny thing. Make sure that you just be consistent in what you do. And it was like these. And I was like, okay. And that list was beautiful and confronting.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that was a really powerful practice for me to see into that. Are you doing one or the other? Are you going towards your goal or are you going away from it? It's one or the other.
And because we have loads of actions to take, there's no shortage of action. There's loads of people telling you what actions to take. There's loads of people telling you how to think. Think like this, do these things. But nobody's telling you how to be, you have to be this human because that human is the human that will attract those situations because you've tuned into them in the future. You kind of know that's who you need to become.
Yeah.
And it's not a consciousness of separation thing. I don't want you to kind of think, oh, well, I'm not me until I reach this goal. It's not about that. It's not about saying, oh, the future me is the real me, and now I'm just this broken version of me that isn't the real me yet. Because that's a sense of like always reaching and always grasping and never having. And it's, it's reinforcing this sense of separateness from yourself. So there's an awareness of your practices, but not this like, oh, well, until I reach this point, then I'm not going to be happy or I'm not going to be peaceful.
Yeah, that's really a common thing, I think, for a lot of us. Yeah. Like, until I have this X amount of this and this thing that I built and this family, it's like, oh, I'm not the person yet. But
I'm not me yet. That's me. Yeah. But then you get there and you're like, wait a second, that's not me either. This is me. Yeah. It's just that, that unconscious, our desire to become whole, right? Yeah. But we chase it in all the wrong ways. Totally. Our desire to merge with ourselves and to find ourselves within ourselves. That's what we're really trying to do. Yeah. But we kind of think, well, if I just get this, then I'll be the real me. Yeah. And then you get there and it's like, oh, fuck.
It was just like that
shit. Now it's this, you know, and it's this. But really it's the inward journey that helps us feel I'm here and now I'm going to build from a place of wanting to expand my awareness, my consciousness, my work in the world. So.
80% inner, 20% outer.
Listen, I'll tell you, you would be shocked at how little I actually physically do and how much I actually sit there and create it. I do take action. I definitely do. But the amount of action I used to take compared to the action I take now is very reduced because my intention and I feel into things and I figure out, what's going to be the best, most effective way of me achieving this thing. And I'm way more intentional about where I put my time because I have 2 children, 2 boys, and I'm busy. Yeah. So I'm kind of intentionally trying to direct energy instead of just responding all the time, with action.
I think that was one of the points I was supposed to hear for this, really, because me, I'm a busybody. I'm always doing tornado life, and it's like, if I'm gonna slow down in the next couple of years, that's one of my goals is to do a lot more with less, less of that energy and expenditure, and just sharpen. That's why I want to pivot my businesses. I want to focus on just service and coaching and what I really want to do and build what I want to build. So it's going to be a harnessing of my intentions. It's going to be saying no to a lot more things. And now it's like, okay, that's the practice now. It's like beginning to get comfortable with just the no's and just doing what I want to do. That's in alignment to that one thing that I'd love to do, or the series of things I really care about.
Yeah, the big vision.
Yeah. And so that was, it's beautiful to hear you say that because I know, you have a great practice, and you live in abundance, and you have a beautiful lifestyle, like in the sense and to hear that you don't have to grind for it.
No,
Whereas I feel like my life's all grind, I'm addicted to grind.
You're a grinder.
Yeah, for sure.
You like the grind. But again, this is just, a trust thing and a practice thing. Like I said, the information, you have to practice it, and then you become it.
Yeah.
And it just is effortless then, because you just are it work, you've practiced it, you trust it.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely the practice, and I appreciate you having all the patience with me and teaching me so much and continuing.
I am a mother. I am patient. Yeah. I've had to learn patience. I wasn't very patient before I had kids. But that's something, an initiation I went through. So.
I love that. Thank you. How can people find you? How can they work with you?
Well, I do one-to-one containers. I do group programs. I do one-off consultations. People want to feel into me and see if I'm a good fit for them. They can find me on my website, which I'm sure you might.
You can put it in the show notes.
And on Instagram. Mm-hmm. As you say, my Instagram game isn't the greatest game.
I'm like her Instagram coach.
Yeah, my Instagram, I can't even say the word. My Instagram game isn't the most high performing game yet, but I'm always replying to messages there and everything like that. So you can reach out. Yeah.
Thank you so much for dropping your wisdom and doing so much for me personally. I really appreciate you.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
Of course. Love you.
Love you. Thank you for tuning in to this special episode of the Ink Pray Love podcast. Please, if you found value from this and you know some of your friends would benefit from it, share it with them. Do me a favor, share it with them, put it on your Instagram stories, do all the things. Subscribe, like, all that. But get this one out there, because Therese has some amazing, amazing abilities, and she did so much for me, and it really worked. So this one is a powerful one, and she's a powerful woman. So get it out there, give it a share, and come back for the next episode. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ink Pray Love podcast. I hope you found it inspiring, entertaining, funny, and also feeling a little bit more present and connected to yourself. Please leave a review and like and subscribe and do all those things. I'd really appreciate that. As well as, if you're feeling in a giving mood, this podcast is there for the charities that I love to support. Go to www.arenbaya.com/charity and get some of those good karma points. This podcast is brought to you by Lighthouse Studios in Bali, as well as Full Reset Coaching. That is my coaching practice. And if you're looking for help in business, inner game impact, and building your legacy to be something you're proud of, your brand, your business, and how you walk the earth and who you impact, and also having the mindset and the heart set to be able to be happy handling it all, I'm here for you. Just DM me. Let's go. Peace out, homies. I'll see you on the next episode.